Hi, it's Ileana. So today I am going to go into looking at the various portfolios that I've photographed of what you can call UFOs, UAPs, drones perhaps. That's the latest iteration of what they're called. The title is UFOs Are Real, a journey of photographic evidence and exploration into this phenomenon. I've been photographing things flying over my house, British Columbia, Canada, since 2016. And these objects seem to be hovering quietly above the tree line in South Surrey area, White Rock area, Kelowna, wherever I've lived in British Columbia, these objects have always been there. So this is long before the drone stuff, like long before the drones came out. This started since 2016. What is happening right now over New Jersey, New York, all these sightings of drones and other craft. This has been going on since the last 2 years, I would say, and ramping up, I guess. So, but what I've been seeing has been since 2016, and I've been photographing it. So, and these are my own images from 2016 until 2019. It's the same stuff. I keep photographing the same stuff, and I'm going to start by describing the equipment that I had used to do the photographs. So, in this image presentation, the following items were photographed: UFOs, what I think are TR-3Bs, light craft, what you can call drones, perhaps, and different styles of crafts. The equipment that I, Ileana, use and was using to photograph objects in this presentation: Nikon DSLR D7100 and Nikkor 80mm. Lens set on manual mode so I can zoom in or out. The lens aperture to photograph the night sky. The auto mode on my camera cannot easily focus on distant points in the sky, so I have to manually adjust the lens to zoom in where I want to see stuff closer up in the sky. The lens is only 80mm, so it needs fine adjustment with coordination to get good results. I've been doing this work in this catalog since 2016. So these objects have been in the sky for a while. I think surveillance, observation, monitoring, looking for things, the typical stuff that operations do. And mind you, this is in Canada, British Columbia, specifically South Surrey, White Rock area, and Kelowna. So, and I also put all of these photographs through thermal imaging as well to have this heat signatures showing up, to check for heat signatures of these objects. Thermal IR, infrared. So it was used to check the heat signatures and color spectrums of objects and living things to validate that something is real and physically there in the images or photographs. Often when investigations are being conducted for UFO sightings or detection of various beings, thermal images can show those types of things in the environments. A green heat signature means that an item is there and real, just like the lighting is in something, and the heat signature coming from a UFO in the sky or a house. Anything that is bright green, red, and yellow has a heat signature, so it is either alive or it's an object that has an emitting heat source of some type. Anything that is in the deep blue color spectrum is something else that is phasing in from somewhere else outside the 3D matrix, perhaps from another dimensional point in space-time. So there are different spectrums of IR thermal imaging that are describing different things. It has to do with perspective of color spectrum of these objects. So green means that an item is there and it's real, just like the lighting in something and the heat signature coming from a UFO in the sky or a house. Bright green, red, and yellow has a heat signature. It's either alive or it's an object, and it's emitting the heat signature, so it has some kind of a propulsion system. It might be very exotic, not your typical source, fuel sourced, like what airplanes use, but it has a propulsion system of some sort. It's not obvious, but it's there, and sometimes it can have a cold or warm heat signature. Even UFOs can have that, and that helps us to define them a little better and what that could be. And this is an example of a TR or TR3B or TR6 crafts. I've seen them too flying over my house, and I photographed one of them in, I believe it was 2017. So I did do a first-hand witness drawing of that, and that's just my artistic interpretation of it. There will be an image, hand-drawn image of it in more clearer perspective, but it was in the evening. These things would always show up in the evening, never during the day. And this is a photo from August 18th, 2017. This was shot in Kelowna. It was a triangular craft, object, UFO, or drone, whatever you want to call it. This was one in Kelowna, and it was photographed as a blue triangle by my camera. But it had like more bluish silver appearance with the naked eye, what I was seeing. But this is how it photographed above the tree line above my house when I was in Kelowna. And this is the infrared of it. I put it through infrared imaging software, and you can see that it is green, infrared green and red. So it's an object emitting a heat signature. The grass is green and yellow. That's emitting a type of heat signature. It's something that's living. It's a physical object. The trees are emitting a heat signature because they're alive and physically there. So all of these objects are physically present there in the spectrum of the photograph. This is real live photographs that I was taking at the time. And these are houses in Kelowna. And there's objects flying in the sky, triangular objects of some sort. These are not planes. These are not helicopters. These are not stars. They're hovering and moving quietly in the night sky. There's something else. And there's the obvious houses and the lampposts with light. This is happening at night, so you can see the scene of the scope. Obviously, okay, so these are the two objects here, one here on infrared. This is without infrared, again, hovering, some type of craft, UFO, UAP, could be drones of advanced aerodynamics and propulsion systems that are not typical. They're quiet, just hovering, phasing in, and there at night. They would appear around 6 until 11 p.m., sometimes 2 or 3 a.m., and you can see this is a street. This is a normal street with houses and street lights, and this is night. And you can see it on the thermal. This is coming from basically these are the houses, the lights on, and these are the lamp posts with electricity, to light up the neighborhood for safety. And these are the two objects, the two crafts. Again, they're not stars, they're not planets, they're not shooting stars. These are not planes, not helicopters, some kind of objects hovering. And that's typical for Kelowna as well. There's many sightings, and this is Ileana again, some kind of an object that is hovering there above my house. And it was a brand new house in Kelowna, and it has a greenish blue, with a bit of red heat signature, and that's one of the pipes to the house, drainage pipes, downspout, if you will, and that's the roof of the house. So there was a focal point and another object here in the background. A second one further off. No, that's not lens flare. It was a second object. And this one is another one of these objects, a different photograph, a bit later on that evening, but triangular shaped. And this is how the camera interprets it, photographs it in manual mode. I see a floating triangle above my house. So that's what I was seeing and photographed, and it has that spectrum again of green, blue, and red heat signature of some sort, whatever this object is, and that's the triangle again that was photographed earlier, the very first picture. That's there in the night sky, another version of a photo of it above the roof line of the house, and it has a clear heat signature as well, whatever that is. Could be drone, UFO, UAP. And this is in the hills above the house, because the Kelowna house was up against a hill and a bit of a forested area. When I used to live there in 2017, I moved around a little bit, and these objects would come out at night, hovering either high up in the sky or lower near the tree lines or above the tree lines. And they have heat signatures. They always have a heat signature of some sort. And this is the grass, I guess. It, it was dried out grass, so it's not very much in color. And this is another one of these objects. And it was, it was emitting some lights. So that was there. And it was photographed this way. You can see it has a heat signature because they've put it through the heat signature IR software to see better if there is any heat signatures, and that might be the source of the propulsion systems right there, because that's orange-red. That could be plasma powered potentially, because a lot of these kinds of objects have anti-gravitic propulsion systems that are not typical. It could be plasma powered, it could have other anti-gravitic drive engine systems that are not typical. That's how these crafts are operated. And probably they're remotely operated. There's probably nobody inside the crafts because they're surveillance, operational. They might be surveilling weather, they might be surveilling land, water, whatever they're looking for or observing. So probably remote operated without anybody inside. They're not huge crafts, they're medium-sized, I would say. About the size of a car, maybe slightly bigger. The TR3Bs, TR6s are bigger, and there could be pilots inside them or crew, because those crafts tend to be bigger. This, I would say, is more drone-sized. And if it was to be piloted by somebody, one or two people maybe inside. And again, showing you the IR thermal, and it has a heat signature, obviously. These are all Kelowna images. This one is kind of loop-shaped with triangle. And some critics and proponents could say you're just photographing stars. This would fly and move and hover. That's not what stars do. A star appears in the night sky, and it shines, right? And then when closer to early morning, it disappears. This would hover and move about. And it wasn't a satellite, because satellites is a string of dots moving together in a line. These were triangular looking, so they weren't satellites either. And it has a heat signature, as always. Here, this could be its propulsion system, and it puts off a heat signature. So in another one, triangular. That's the consistency. They were mostly triangular, and they had some flash. Sometimes the lights would be on, sometimes not. Sometimes flashing, sometimes not. And heat signature, always a heat signature on them. And that was a consistent pattern from 2016 until 2019, consistently hovering over the houses everywhere I lived. These things would be there. So they're not new. They've been around in British Columbia for quite a long time, and I've been observing them. Always has a heat signature. I try to pay attention what's in the night sky, what's above my house. Most people just accept it as normal here, and they don't really talk about it too much or worry about it, or some have reported sightings of it, some haven't. It's just something there in the sky that's doing something, and always a heat signature, a greenish blue, red, yellow, always has a heat signature. I had a typical DSLR camera. It wasn't anything extra special. Video was limited at that time on those types of DSLRs, so it's mainly photography that I was taking of these objects in the night sky. And again, it has heat signatures, always there. This could have been an airplane potentially, but I didn't hear any sound from it. It sort of looks like an airplane maybe from afar. Again, it had no sound. So if it was an airplane, it might have had a different propulsion system because it was soundless. I didn't hear anything, like no noise from it, or it could have been something else. I'm just being honest about the disclosure of what it potentially could have been, because it has that look a bit of an airplane, but it's really like its heat signature was red. It wasn't the typical blue or green or yellow. It was like red. So it had a really hot heat signature. And it photographed kind of like a yellow whitish object floating there in the night sky. So it could have been some kind of an advanced helicopter system with anti-gravitics on it. I wouldn't discount that, but it didn't make the typical helicopter sound or had the flashing lights on it. And a helicopter would actually photograph physically. This thing photographed differently. Whatever it was, yeah. This, again, triangular looped object. It was red. It was a red object that I saw in the sky with the naked eye. And it has a bluish green heat signature when you put it through the IR spectrum. So it does have a heat signature, like in 3 possible sources of propulsion or some kind of engines to it, because that has a more concentrated heat signature here. And again, similar object with some kind of light systems on it. That's what the camera photographed. I saw it as a red triangle with blinking yellow lights. Again, not an airplane, not a helicopter. I'm not sure what this is, but it has a heat signature as well. It was there floating above the hillside at night, and it was red. So it's not all the same colors even in this thing. It was above the hills and the tree line where that little forest is that was above my house. And it photographed, it was triangular, like it was like triangular pyramid shaped object of some sort hovering in the night sky, like more of a pyramid triangle shape. And I was able to photograph that, and again, it has that heat source of green-blue. So it's an object that's really truly there. And this is just a composite of all these objects together as images in a catalog. Obviously, they do have heat signatures, and I just wanted to show them more up close what they look like. So I included that in the catalog. And round UFO with blinking colored lights. I've seen a few of those too. And Canada has a prevalence of UFO sightings with bright lights. That happens in Canada. There's a lot of UFO sightings, so I want to include some statistics just to show you. This is British Columbia. There's also Alberta nearby. There's UFO sightings. There's red lights hovering. Jets scrambled to unknown. Track at something unknown. Very bright light overhead. Shining lights maneuvering fast. 3 red lights at 28,000 feet. That's in British Columbia. So we have stats of reported UFO sightings. I wanted to include that as well, just so people can get a perspective of what's going on in Canada. So this is between Kelowna and Peachland. That's the upper area of British Columbia. Look how many sightings there are. Triangular craft, saucer-shaped craft. This is from a website called UFO Stalker, where people are reporting first-hand sightings of what they see with interesting descriptions. This is Merritt. This is on the way to Kelowna, towns and cities, and there's a lot of people having sightings of craft. I wanted to provide some statistics, actually. So this is West Kelowna, and this is North Kelowna. West Kelowna is here. I was more in Black Mountain when I lived in Kelowna. And saucer, people reporting in Rose Valley, saucer-shaped crafts in West Kelowna. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then there's the bridge over the water. And North Kelowna, look how many saucer-shaped UFO sightings are being reported, and a few of the triangular ones. So we've had UFO activity for quite a long time in British Columbia, Canada, that's been regularly reported in West Kelowna and North Kelowna, and I lived there for several months, so I can say with certainty I saw sightings of these objects, and I photographed some of them. For me, it was mostly the triangles that I was photographing, in an odd pyramid-shaped one. So that was interesting. Like, I was physically there. And then you have Vancouver, South Surrey, White Rock area, and then you're going into Blaine, you're going into Bellingham, Washington, and Portland. Look how much reported sightings of saucer-shaped UFO crafts. This is British Columbia. This is Calgary, Edmonton, Alberta, and Regina in Saskatchewan. So there's sightings in multiple provinces in Canada of UFOs. We've had this on the regular. It's nothing new. And I'm sure there's underground base facilities in some of these areas, and it looks like a flight pattern of crafts going in and out. There's underground black site facilities here and other facilities here, because it seems like a flight pattern, a regular thing that happens, and only at night. So they're hovering, they're observing, they're looking for something, going in and out. So there's statistics of this physically happening and being reported by first-hand eyewitnesses seeing these objects and reporting them. So it's not just me going about my regular business photographing these objects and making this a fun hobby. I was doing it to document what I was seeing and having photographic evidence proof for whatever that might prove. So again, I've lived in this area and a bit of kind of like this area, and every city, Vancouver, Richmond. I've lived in Richmond too for 15 years before when I was younger. I'd say, yeah, that's just typical Vancouver, Richmond. You have kind of White Rock area, Langley, quite a few sightings. Then you're going into Bellingham. This is like this is where the U.S.-Canadian border is between Canada and the States. That's like 15-30 minutes away from my house by car. So every city is reporting UFO sightings. And on Vancouver Island, Nanaimo, they were also reporting UFO sightings, saucer-shaped ones for the most part, and some triangles too, like White Rock reported triangles, triangular craft, 3 of them, 3 sightings, and that's from the years, and saucer-shaped ones as well, throughout the years, anywhere from 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, to current day. People are still reporting sightings. And this is Zero Avenue in Douglas, quite a few triangular craft going into Blaine and Bellingham. There's 2 facilities here. One facility is a kind of like a scientific facility with medical stuff and computer stuff, and another with polymers, having to do with polymers, and maybe a black site as well, for what we've discovered from remote viewings. So this seems to be like a flight corridor of some type for where these crafts come in and come out, possibly from underground or being launched from other remote areas. There's a lot of Pacific Ocean here, so there's a lot of place where they can be launching from. I believe they're anti-gravitic craft or some type of a drone system, like White Rock triangles, White Rock saucer-shaped ones. And this is all what people are reporting seeing with the naked eye. So it's like, it's typical for us to have this happening, and it was happening long before these huge, massive overflights of drones over New Jersey and New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, the UK, and also military bases. We've had this happening for a very long time here in BC. It's just typical. We're used to it. Here's just a sample of a sighting report. Black triangle sighting. This occurred 2018, and it was reported 2018, White Rock, British Columbia. That's not too far from where I live. Look at 2 triangles and 2 saucers. It's like, this is Buena Vista Avenue, and this is where it happened. So it's Marine Drive, saucer-shaped craft reported. These are major roads where people drive and walk, so people are seeing these things. People are paying attention to what's physically in the night sky. And this is South Surrey, White Rock, BC, Canada area where I live. So there are stats for it. And it says odd orange glowing section. It was black triangle sighting of an object. So there's descriptions from it. And another one, black triangle sighting 2015 when it occurred, and reported 2015. White rock triangle with blue lined marking on it. So people are reporting these things. This is where it happened. And the other one's Marine Drive. So this is, again, physically being reported with eyewitnesses coming forward. And these are my photographs of these types of crafts from Surrey, BC, when I lived in Surrey, and I'm back in Surrey. I've been back for the last 7 years living here. And we still see these objects in the night sky to this day. I'm no longer photographing them because it's the same thing. Triangles appearing in the sky, hovering above people's houses. It's the same types of crafts. It's very usual. This one was photographed on November 2016, and it's still happening to, it was That's when I photographed it, and I was photographing these objects until December 2019. This is from 2016. I was out for a walk at night with a camera, and this thing was just hovering there in kind of between the forested area. So I took a photo of it, and boy, in thermal IR, it sure lights up with a heat signature. It's not an airplane. It was quiet, it was hovering, and it has a heat signature. You can see it's triangular in shape. It is kind of it's a whitish silver, but it has a red-green heat signature. So it's outputting a signature, and it has a propulsion system of some sort. Now this is the TR3B because it's the typical triangle. It has the 3 or 4 yellow lights and a red light. That's what a TR3B looks like. And when you put it in the thermal IR, it has a heat signature. You can see the propulsion light sources of it. You can see the tree line still. And this is a more thorough HDR cross-filter processing where you can see it's triangular. You can see the lights better, or the heat signature of it, because I put it through quite a bit of a color spectrum of different filters and IR and HDR cross-processing, cross-sectioning, and it's fine. You can see the trees. And I put it through another IR heat signature. Here you can see more of heat signature, the outgoing heat signature red around the lights or the propulsion system. So there's a triangular object clearly quite there. It's hovering in the sky, and this is at night. And this is what these TR3Bs or TR6s would typically look like at night for me when I would see them. Some of them were like dark green, some of them were silver blue, and sometimes whitish. This one was dark green. I was trying to blend in with the night sky, and the stars were out. This could be TR3B or a TR6 model because they do upgrade them from time to time, and this is what I saw with the naked eye, and I sketched it to the best of my ability. I actually decided to try and sketch it, not just take a photo of it. This is the photo of it from what the camera captured, but I wanted to sketch it, and this is what it looked like when I sketched it. And this is what it looks like in that grayish black and white spectrum. I like to put even my own sketches through a filter just to see what the shape is, to see what the gradient feels like. It's just interesting to me. So this was another triangular type object that I photographed in South Surrey while out on a walk at night. And it was hovering between the forest and the tree line. And again, it has that heat signature of perhaps this is in the red field, that's the propulsion system, and the green is the craft object itself, triangular. And this is another one that's closer to my house, a triangular. It's kind of yellow whitish, and when you put it through the IR spectrum, it has a red heat signature, probably for whatever the propulsion system is, and the green is the craft itself, triangular object, and it has kind of a bit of a blue field around it. If they're plasma powered, they have kind of a masking shield around them, like a bubble frequency shield, and that's how they come out in photos. Triangular objects, they look like light craft. Even they might not be light craft, they might be like physical UAP UFOs, but they translate this way when you take a photo of them. Because if it's plasma powered with a, like a plasma drive engine, the photograph of the plasmic field would photograph like this. This one looks like a jellyfish between a triangle cross and a jellyfish with lights. It was not a plane, it was kind of triangle roundish. when you look at it, it looks like a jellyfish with legs and stuff just floating there. Obviously, it has a heat signature like orange-red for the propulsion system, probably, and just the craft itself outputting a heat signature of greenish blue yellow. So these are physical objects that are there. And I always try to show how it photographs by the camera and then in the IR, and this is always at night. So people can see a comparison of these objects. And mostly I was photographing triangles at night, and they would have red heat signatures with green heat signatures or greenish blue, typical for these craft. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, and some of them come out, they're kind of yellowish white. Some of them are greenish blue silver. So they're not all the same color, and sometimes they had different light spectrums, but they always have triangular shape to them. This one had like an obvious heat signature, red with green and blue overlay. So this object here, which is this is like, that's this object. And the second one is more of a green heat signature with blue and a bit of yellow. That's this object. So they're real objects floating, hovering there quietly. I suspect that they are phasing in and out of reality. They can go into hyperspace. That's what I suspect, because they just suddenly appear in the night sky, then disappear after hovering there for several hours. And they would come out every day. I would see this every day consistently. Even this is power lines. So these objects would be hovering above the power lines. And they're not stars. And when you're working with a manual camera, it's not the easiest to photograph these objects. But again, they have heat signatures. Always a heat signature. And this was on a full moon. There was 2 of them flying out there. And this is a forested area in a house. This is a roof of a house on a full night of the full moon. And these 2 objects came out at night, typical 9 p.m., predictably. And see that the moon has a heat signature, red. When you put it through the IR, it's red and green. So that's the moon. And that's these 2 objects with red heat signatures, bluish green, red, bluish green. And they're 2 different objects, because you can see here, look, 2 red heat signatures and another red heat signature. This one only has 1 red one, and there's nothing here. So 2 different objects. It's not the same object, but they're both triangular, flying kind of like one is lower than the other. This one's higher, but it's 2 separate objects flying in the sky. And this one was also like full moon, on the night of full moon. This is one of the neighbors' houses, and this is the triangular. This could be a TR3B possibly. It was silver blue in color. And again, this is the infrared. And I put it in 2 images. So you can see 3 infrared, 3 red heat signatures, and the body of the craft is greenish heat signature with a bit of a blue output. You can see the moon clearly red. That's the heat signature of the moon with green halo around it. That's the moon. That's the heat signature of the moon. And this is the roof. Even there's a bit of a tree here showing. You can see the blue heat signature of the tree. So these are all physical items present. The roof line, the tree, focal point of the moon, and this object hovering here, triangular craft of some sort. Not a star, not an airplane, not a helicopter, quiet, seamless, just hovering there, silverish blue object. And that's how it looks close up in IR. And again, physical focal objects in a photograph. You always will have those components when you're photographing anything. And if it has a heat signature, it's physically present there. And here's another, the moon is out. There's clouds even. It was a clear day, clear night. It was a clear night, and with the moon out and some clouds behind the moon, and this yellowish object just floating there, triangular. And here's the focal point of the trees, so it's above the tree line. The moon is here, the clouds are there. This is at night. This is photographed with my camera. Again, trees. This object, whatever it is, just hovering there. Heat signature, red, and the object itself has a green one. This craft, drone, whatever it is. So propulsion system, craft itself. And again, the moon always has a red heat signature with green around it. Physical objects there. These things are all present. You have the trees, you have this craft, and you have the moon and the clouds. You can even see the clouds, greenish blue heat signature of the clouds, because these are the clouds. And this is the moon, and part of the clouds and cloud heat signature. So everything has a heat signature. Anything present there will have different color tones. It's there, and this one was triangular. Another similar night, and it has red heat signature and green heat signature to this object, whatever it is. Always put it through the IR as well. This is another night where above the power lines, this one in particular stood out the most to me. And so I put a focal point to photograph that. Here it is. The other ones didn't turn out so well because it's a DSLR set on manual, so it focused on this object. Thankfully, when you put it through IR, you can see it more clearly. It definitely lights up. When you put it through a heat signature, more IR infrared, oh my gosh, it's really red. Its heat signature is green, like greenish red, and it has all of this lit up. A lot of energy output here from this thing, whatever type of a craft this is. It is outputting a lot of energy and frequency. And here is kind of like the spectrum of these items, a bit closer up images of them in a catalog style, so people could see that. I like to catalog these things. All of it has heat signatures, clearly red, green, sometimes bluish as well. Whatever is powering these things is putting out a lot of energy, anti-gravitic energy of some sort. And a little closer look of these objects. They all have their heat signatures. They all do. Green, blue, red, green, blue. Some of it a bit yellow. This one has some yellow, predominantly red and green and blue. Probably some of them are plasma powered as well. That's quite typical for these crafts. This one was just a night out with some cloud cover, and some of these crafts were out too. It's kind of a weird photo, but these things were presently there. It's just how they were photographed. That's the best the camera could photograph them. No, I didn't draw V lines in the sky. Didn't sit there drawing squiggles. This is an actual picture of 4 triangles in the sky. And this was set on manual, so I think there was some mirror effect from these 4 objects. The other ones, those are not there. It's at my camera, I think. It just was mirroring some of them. It's just 4 objects, but it was mirroring them. That's sometimes what happens in a manual. These were the primary objects, 4 objects, and you can see the cloud cover. Heat source red, bluish, green, triangular objects, and this is what a clearer picture of this looks like with these types of 4 objects in the night sky. And again, the trees, the cloud cover, and these 4 objects there. Again, they're not stars, they're not planets, they're not helicopters or planes, they're just these silver bluish triangles hovering there, and that's how the camera photographs them. And this is my house, my old house, which I do not live anymore at. I don't live at this place anymore. And there was cameras all over the place. These were HDR cameras. Physically, I put cameras all over my house on the exterior. Because I'm, just for security purposes, I always have cameras at my house. So any visitors who come around, you're fully photographed, videoed, audio, sound, and everything. Whatever you do outside, all activity is recorded. And I keep several months worth of camera footage. So there's always cameras at my house, no matter which house I live. If it's a property I own, there's cameras. So, anybody who thinks can just stroll up to my house, forget it. No. There's security, there's cameras, there's protection, forget it. Unless you've been lawfully invited, no thank you. But these are physical objects that's there. And you can see the trees have a heat signature. The houses have a heat signature. The clouds have a heat signature. These objects have a heat signature, green heat signature. So all of these things are physically present. Even the camera has a heat signature. All of these things are physically presently there in the photos. And that's what you want as elements when photographing UFOs, drones, UAPs, taking video. When you put it through thermal IR, infrared, or some other spectrum, you want to have these typical elements because that proves that there's something physical there, actually being photographed or videoed. These things are there. I didn't draw these, didn't spend hours doing squiggly wigglies. That's what was there, that's what I photographed, honestly. That's a tree. I don't need to fake anything. I don't need to stage anything. This is my truth that I'm sharing. I followed these things around. I photographed them. I documented them. They were physically presently there above my house and still are to this day, observing something. This was there on Christmas Day. It looks like a triangle with antennas. It looks like a freaking Christmas present, for lack of a better description. Like some kind of a Christmas ornament potentially, but it's not. This was what was actually there, and this is what I photographed in the trees, the bare trees without any leaves. This was at the rental house. And when you put it through IR, it has a triangle with infrared. These could be lights or propulsion or something with perhaps back something here, antenna or something, whatever that is. But that's what it looked like, and it was kind of a bluish white. That's what it looked like, triangular bluish white. Kept hovering, and the red and yellow lights would come on and switch on and off, and it was weird. And it was there for a couple of hours, and this was more of like a rectangle, squarish object. This was 2 nights after this one was photographed. Yeah, 2 nights after this was photographed. This one was photographed. Same scenery at the rental house. And this is what, when you put it through IR, it has red heat signature and green heat signature and a bit of blue for whatever that object is. Again, not a star, not a planet. And then more of the typical triangular ones as well at the house rental. These would appear again predominantly red heat signature with green and blue. outline of the physical object, and the cloud cover. There's clouds. Trees. These are trees. So these are trees. Sometimes when you put them in infrared, it could look like cloud cover. But these are trees and a bit of cloud here. Can't really see the clouds in this one. Well, you kind of can. Some wisps. These were trees. So another triangular one, as usual, at the rental house. And when you zoom in on the IR, infrared, red heat signature for whatever the propulsion system might be and the rest of the craft, greenish yellow and blue heat signature. These are the trees. These are the trees here. You can barely see them, but they're there. This was another one at the rental, kind of a diamond V-shaped craft or drone, whatever that is. And it also has red heat signature, greenish blue. So physical object that's present there. This was more of a triangular one with the trees showing at night. A little bit of a red heat signature, green, blue, and yellow spectrum for this triangular object. This one is phasing in. Again, rental house, my rental house, and this is phasing in into the backyard. You can see kind of it phasing in. It was hovering. It was going like this. Very slow motion, every 30 minutes hovering and switching it up. So it has this red heat signature in the middle and greenish blue around it. And you can see this is the house. These are the lights in the backyard lit up. These are this neighbor's house, and that's their lights. And this thing, whatever phased in, it was hovering above the house for several hours. And it would move about every 30 minutes, kind of like a little bit here, a little bit there, and hover quietly and consistently. This is another one, a triangular one, above the roof line of the house. And it's really red, like a red heat signature with some green. This one was another one, like a triangular one. This was at the neighbor's house next door. It appeared. You can see it's red heat signature and greenish blue. And this is the neighbor's lights turned on, and this is the trees. You can clearly see the heat signature of the lights and the trees, and this item, whatever phased in, flying above the roof line of the house. This one was another kind of like a pyramid-shaped one, triangular pyramid-shaped one. Still at the rental. It has a heat signature of red with a bit of green and blue around it. It's triangular and somewhat pyramid-shaped. Real physical object that's there. Similar one, triangular pyramid-shaped at the rental. Kind of red heat signature, green and blue. And this is several of these objects at, I think this is the old house in South Surrey on one of the nights, and kind of I did a montage of those photos, and you can see the houses with the roof lines, the lights on inside the houses, and these just objects above the houses, floating above the trees and the roof lines. They all have heat signatures, red heat signatures with green, predominantly triangular shaped objects just hovering there. These are the closer ups of these objects so you can see what they look like. Primarily triangles with red heat signatures and green and blue. So these objects are kind of more of a predominant feature, more mass to them. So they're kind of looking bigger. They're there, and I was just having fun in my catalog montage. And this one looked more of like something that was just shooting, not a shooting star, but kind of whooshing. When it was flying there, it was going like what a tic tac would do, going like this. More of a tic tac shape than a triangle. And this is what it looked like when you put it through IR, more of a tic tac cigar shaped item with a predominantly red heat signature in green and blue around it. And again, above somebody's house, a neighbor's house. And this was a strange night when this thing was like shooting up like that. Afterwards, there was a flash that went into my bathroom. This thing emitted something as it was like, then it came back and hovered above my house, above the rental. It emitted some kind of a flash. This was the flash. And went into my bathroom. This was like 2 a.m. and it blinded me for a minute. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I was just, I don't know. I couldn't sleep. I was on my cell phone looking at something, and I photographed this thing. And then it came back around. It was hovering above my bathroom and emitted some kind of a flash. I didn't have my lights on. This is the outside of the house, the roof line, with some clouds. And it emitted some kind of a flash. My phone accidentally photographed it, and this flash had whatever that thing emitted, that was this flash, and this is the infrared of it. It had a heat signature of red and green. It wasn't from my cell phone because this is externally on the house. The lights were off externally and internally in the house. So this came outside of the house from that object, because all the lights were off. And I wasn't planning on like photographing some kind of a flash. And that object got closer. It was weird. And that's the same object whooshing off after the flash is over. It's just whooshing away. It's just whooshing away. Yeah, this is what it was. It was primarily yellow. But when it's whooshing away, it just switched up colors to this kind of reddish. This thing was changing colors. It's so weird. It looks like a centipede or something. On IR, it kind of looks like a centipede. And it's predominantly red heat signature with green heat signature around it. Whatever this thing was, it was more cigar shaped or tic tac shaped, and this flash, whatever it emitted, that's the roof line. This is the cloud cover. It almost blinded me, and I put it through several spectrums of infrared, green, just to see what the flash. Does the flash have a heat signature? And yes, it does. It's a physical present thing, some kind of an energy flash that was flashed into my bathroom. I don't know what the purpose of it was, but it was just like disorienting and blinding effect. And these are some of the previous photos of the triangular crafts during a full moon and just out above the power lines. Thursday, November 3rd, 2016 at 11:18 p.m. This is Monday, July 10th, 2017, 12:37 a.m. So yeah, it's I just put a bit of a date range so people could see when these things were photographed. July 10th, 2017 at 11:20 p.m. Yeah, triangle, silver blue triangle. This is the house rental when that thing phased in. Wednesday, January 3rd, 2018 at 10:21 p.m. Typical night hours when these things appear. This was when a flash happened, January 3rd, 2018, 11:30 p.m. And it was just, I was up until 2-ish something. That thing would hover there. The cigar-shaped tic-tac thing. And the flash happened here, and it blinded me, and I'm like, oh my god. A temporary blinding, not permanent, thank God. This was another January 3rd, 2018, where you can kind of see that triangle one. So we had several different sightings on that night of different shaped objects. So that was interesting. And this is back to Ileana, where I photographed some orbs. I was actually on the one of the solar eclipses in Ileana, on that rare solar eclipse. I was able to actually photograph some orbs. These are orbs in the tree line. This is like that hill, the trees above. And when this kind of an eclipse happens, even the night sky changes color. And you can see in the IR, this is the night sky, these are the trees, this is the grass and the hill. Everything has an energy signature. The orbs have these are the orbs. They have orbs. They have a greenish heat signature. You can clearly see the outline of round orbs. Orb 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the two largest orbs. And this is more of like when the moon was out. And this is like building houses. And these are the headlights. These are poles with lights. So this is not anything UFO related. This is the moon, the half moon, and the orb. Huge orb came out. These are the two moon pictures, and this is like the bulldozers had dug up the holes, huge holes to build houses, and these are the lights lighting up the neighborhood, the headlights. So that's normal. This is not UFOs. These are just headlights. That's the moon, and that's the orb. And then this is the same picture, just higher up when it went higher up. And you can see the half moon, crescent moon, and the orb. You can see the headlamps and the huge holes in the hill where houses are going to be built. So I have had some orb encounters. I've seen a few orbs in South Surrey as well, but the more prominent ones, those are in Kelowna, that I was able to actually photograph and have some nice orb pictures. And that's the end of my presentation. And I took all those pictures throughout 2016, 2000, and all the way to the date range of 2019. And these objects are real, whatever they are. They're here. They've been here for a while. Drone activity, UAP activity, UFO activity. I've seen this stuff since 2016 and photographed it from 2016 until 2019. I still see them presently here. I've seen what you can call UAP or drones, whatever you want to call it these days. It hovers above my house near the tree lines and the roof lines. I've seen this a couple of weeks ago. So it still happens. This activity is still here. And it's nothing new. It's been going on for years. It's happening more in New Jersey, New York, and Long Island as well. The Podesco brothers have, on Ross Coulhart's show, Reality Check, they've been actually shooting video of this stuff on Long Island. It's quite interesting. I would recommend watching that. Very interesting guys, scientists, the Podesco brothers. They've been recording this phenomenon. It's pretty interesting. Is this a psyop? Like more drones coming out? More of this anti-gravitic craft technology being showcased to us? Maybe. Maybe they're just testing the waters, military, with newer hardware, software, how people will react to it potentially. Maybe they're looking for something. Maybe they're shutting something down in underground facilities monitoring something, yes, potentially. Whatever the activity is, or just testing out new technology to see how we react to it, whatever it is, the government's saying like they don't know what it is. It's really like, if you know what it is, just tell people. Tell the public we are capable of accepting the truth. If it's classified stuff, fine. Just say, this is drone activity for the protection of the people. We are monitoring something. It's for protection. It's for surveillance. People will accept that. If it's something classified for what the actual missions are by military or Air Force, Navy, okay, fine. It's on a need to know. The public doesn't necessarily need to know what missions this stuff is, what it's for. But if it's protecting the public's safety and that's why the drones are there, just say that's what it's for. That's the purpose. It's not to harm anybody. It's just for protection and surveillance. That's good enough for us. Thank you very much. Just be honest, don't say, oh, we don't know what it is, or it's like the sightings aren't there, or there's not much sightings of it when there is. And when it's hovering above military bases, people start to get concerned. When it's flying constantly over their houses, they get concerned. Because it's constant traffic. That is something new in there, not just airplanes and helicopters. This is stuff that is within that UFO, UAP drone category. Several types of crafts. Never mind the orbs, never mind the extraterrestrial crafts that are also appearing in the sky, doing stuff beside these drones. So it's a mixture of everything combined together at this point. Is it a psyop? Is it a distraction to cover up for something bigger happening? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe something in between, and developing technologies and finally disclosing what these companies and corporations and military facilities are doing. Perhaps. I think it's all of the above to some degree, of elements of all of that for what's happening here and why it's going on. Or looking for something as well, underground military facilities, shutting something down illegal, perhaps like, shutting stuff down that shouldn't be used, and these drones are looking for something and shutting it down as well. That's a high potential, I think, perhaps. So those are kind of my thoughts on that as a summation and an ending to this presentation relating to that stuff. So thank you so much.